As of Indonesia's statistic agency released Indonesia macroeconomic data days ago, we highlight some of it for you. Few of them, of course, about Indonesia's trade performance. Let's see the first data. This is Indonesia's trade performance in billion US dollar. As you can see, the pink one indicates for the export performance. In the meantime, the yellow one indicates for import performance of Indonesia to some countries. As you can see, in February 2019, the export performance of Indonesia reached 12.5%. Meantime, for February 2020, increased to 13.9 billion US dollar. Meantime, for the import performance in February 2019, it was only reached 12.2 billion US dollar, but the number was decreased in February to only 11.6 billion US dollar. And the value of Indonesia's exports in February 2020 reached 13.94 billion US dollar, increased 2.24% compared to exports in January 2020. Compared to February 2019, increased 11%. And cumulatively, the value of Indonesia's exports from January to February 2020 reached 27.57 billion US dollar, an increase of 4.1% over the same period in 2019. The value of Indonesia's imports in February 2020 reached 11.6 billion US dollar, down 18.96% compared to January 2020. And likewise, when compared to February 2019, it dropped 5.11%. And how about the comparison to trade balance in the last 5 months? Let's see the next data. We can see the data from October 2019 to February 2020. As you can see, in November, December, and January, Indonesia recorded deficit or trade deficit, 1.39% in 2019. And of course, the same situation also happened in December and January. Meantime, in February 2020, Indonesia experiencing surplus. And Indonesian imports in February fell by 18.69% compared to January 2020 to 11.6 billion US dollar. Indonesia's trade balance scored a surplus of 2.3 billion US dollar. The non-oil and gas sector accounted for the largest exports of total exports in February 2020, reaching 94.14%. In more detail, the industrial sector was the highest contributor to overall exports, which amounted to 79.11%, followed by mining with 12.89%, oil and gas 5.86%, agriculture 2.14%. And China holds position as the biggest export destination from Indonesia. Let's see the data. Compared to other countries, of course, this export destination with the biggest export value from Indonesia. China holds the highest country with the biggest volume of export from Indonesia. The value reached 1.86 billion US dollar. The second one is USA, 1.62 billion US dollar. Japan, 1.13 billion US dollar. And Singapore, 1.04 billion US dollar. And even though China holds position as Indonesia's biggest export destination, export value to China was declined in February 2020. The biggest decline in non-oil exports fell to 145.5 million US dollar, or 22.63%, to 1.86 billion US dollar compared to January 2020. The dominant commodities that experiencing decrease export to China as steel, copper, pulp, and wood. The decline in export to China is also one of them caused by coronavirus or COVID-19. And how about the import value by February 2020? Let's see the next data. We imported a lot of commodities from these countries. From China, the value of import as much as 1.98 billion US dollar. Japan, 1.28 billion US dollar. Thailand, 0.83 billion US dollar. And from Singapore, 0.68 billion US dollar. And the value of imports in February 2020 reached 11.6 billion US dollar. This import value decreased by 5.11%. The significant decline in the value of non-oil and gas imports in machinery and mechanical equipment reached 148.4 million US dollar. The value of imports from China recorded the highest decline, where based on BPS data reached 1.95 billion US dollar. Indonesia banned exports of face masks, sanitizers, and some medical equipment to shore up domestic supplies amid a surge in new cases of coronavirus infection. Such effort implemented after Indonesian authorities found effects on extreme export volume of face masks from Indonesia to some countries. Let's see the data. This is the face mask export from Indonesia to destination countries in January and February 2020. As you can see, the data in January, or export volume of face masks from Indonesia to another country, indicated by the green one, and the export volume of face masks from Indonesia to China as much as 0.08 billion US dollar. And meantime to Singapore 0.06 billion US dollar. In the meantime to Hong Kong 0.01 billion US dollar. As you can see, to each countries the face mask export experiencing extreme incline. As you can see, in February 2020, the export volume or value from Indonesia to China reaching 25.6 billion US dollar. And to Singapore, 36.2 billion US dollar, and to Hong Kong, 73.9 billion US dollar. And Indonesia's Statistic Agency, or BPS, noted face mask export during January were recorded at 2.1 million US dollar. Then in February, the value of export increased 34 times, or increased 3,480% to reach 75 million US dollar. Meanwhile, if compared to February 2019, face mask export in February 2020 increased 75 times, or 74,600%. And later, after a scarcity of masks amid the coronavirus pandemic, the government decided to ban face mask export. And that's it for today's infographic segment. Stay tuned on Market Headlines because we'll be right back after the break.